We begin with breaking news at 11 o'clock. There are explosions happening right now in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. Video going viral on social media. They're showing powerful explosions happening in a number of places in the sprawling capital city. And more videos showing what appears to be Chinook and Apache attack helicopters flying across the city as these explosions continue. Residents of the city also posting about the sound of fighter jets flying over the city as well. Now, the Pentagon has moved an armada of Navy ships, including the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier and all of its support ships into the Caribbean Sea just off the coast of Venezuela. But there has been no official word from the White House or the Pentagon of a U.S. military operation targeting sites in Venezuela tonight, but it is clear from the videos that we have seen that some type of military operation is now underway. Now, for several months,
without further involvement.
Look, this is the question. The day after, as it's called, first of all, we have to emphasize that we have only heard from President Trump on his Truth Social post that Nicolas Maduro and his wife have been flown out of the country. We're still getting reports from the region, from the Venezuelan defense minister and others, that they are fighting back. So the situation on the ground remains deeply uncertain. But if it is all confirmed, if this is the end of the Maduro era, and don't forget, it didn't start with President Trump. There was also tensions with President Biden's administration. It goes back to the time of Hugo Chavez as well. This has been an issue for the United States for a very long time. But the question is always, when one order is toppled, it's what is the day after. And many will remember the lessons of the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq in 2003, the U.S.-led intervention in Afghanistan in 2001, where there, in the days after, there was ambiguity, confusion, and contradiction. Was it just a military intervention for security reason? Was the United States going to get involved in nation building? Again, President Trump has specifically said he wants to avoid getting bogged down in nation building. This is going to be yet another test of America.
And how do you feel that this
We got all sorts of games.
This is a CBS News special report. I'm Carissa Lawson in New York. The United States just attacked Venezuela's capital, hitting military facilities in the country. President Trump ordered this operation. There were multiple explosions in Caracas starting at around 2 a.m. local time. You can see the video here coming in. It shows low-flying aircraft in the city. This is the first U.S. military attack within the country. President Trump is targeting the South American nation over its authoritarian leader, Nicolas Maduro, and his alleged ties to drug cartels. It follows months of military buildup in the region. The strikes come just hours after Maduro had said he was open to negotiations with the U.S. Let's go right to CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand. She's traveling with the president in West Palm Beach, Florida. And Natalie, what are we hearing from the Trump administration right now?
Well, as of this hour, sources are telling CBS News that Trump administration officials are aware of these reports of explosions and aircraft. No immediate response from the White House. But we've also learned for U.S. officials that President Trump ordered strikes on sites inside Venezuela, including military facilities. This, of course, comes as the administration has escalated its campaign against the regime of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, which the U.S. administration views as illegitimate. So right now, as you've seen on some initial video coming in, which we are still working to gather and confirm, several explosions were heard around 2 a.m. local time Saturday overnight in Venezuela's capital city, Caracas. People seen kind of rushing to the streets. And again, this is something that the president himself had said was a possibility out loud, talking about potential land strikes. CBS News has also learned from sources that the president gave the U.S. military the green light to conduct land strikes in Venezuela days before the actual operation, waiting for conditions to be right there. Sources also say that military officials were even going to conduct the mission on Christmas, but U.S. airstrikes in Nigeria, as you may remember, against ISIS targets took precedence that day, according to the sources. So again, we are still working to confirm the latest, but Clarissa, as you know, this comes on top of months of a pressure campaign, which started back in September with those initial strikes that we saw on alleged drug boats off the coast of Venezuela. That has expanded now to a massive military buildup around Venezuela, a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers, a pressure campaign that's both military and also economic pressure.
As you said, this has been a slow and steady escalation. What is the president's goal in Venezuela at this time?
You know, he's been careful not to completely disclose that when asked directly by reporters. You know, he won't talk about regime change, even though that's what a lot of lawmakers over on Capitol Hill say that they believe all signs point to. But President Trump, in interviews with reporters, including CBS News' own Norah O'Donnell, has said that he believes that Maduro's days as president are numbered. The big question, of course, is what would happen next. And that's where even allies of the president on Capitol Hill, after they received briefings on Venezuela operations, they said that they had more questions for administration officials about the real strategy here and the end game.
Natalie Brand, thank you for those details on what's happening in Venezuela right now. Now, CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano is talking to sources in both Colombia and Venezuela. And Lilia, what is the reaction in these overnight hours to all of this?
Well, over the last few minutes or maybe an hour since I started seeing these reports, I started reaching out to sources in Venezuela. I heard from folks who confirmed that they heard one person who heard the loud bangs who said that their area, which is near one of these bases that was bombed, could hear the loud bang, that the skies were orange and that they lost power quite immediately. There were people, of course, were expecting that something could happen, but they have been waiting for many weeks. So, of course, now when it does happen, they are on high alert. I have also heard I reached out from when I covered the election last week to people who are supportive or allied to the Maduro regime, and they said that they are standing guard, that they're waiting for more information, but that they're willing to come out and fight whatever that means to maintain the Venezuelan, they say government, of course, regime. I also reached out to Colombia. The president of Colombia has issued a couple of tweets. In them, he makes sure to state that Colombia is neither an enemy of Venezuela or of the United States, and is placing Colombia in a way in between both countries and offering the possibility of entering or allowing or facilitating negotiations. And Maduro has now, or the government of Venezuela, has also issued a statement in the last several minutes calling this a flagrant violation of the Charter of the United Nations. I am hoping to hear a little bit more.
What was happening, and then, of course, President Trump's statement on social media saying that Nicolas Maduro has been, and his wife have now been taken from the country. As you said, the vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, is now nominally at least in charge for the time being, but we'll come back to that in a minute as to what happens next, I suspect. What we are hearing from very high sources, very well-placed sources within the opposition movement, they are saying that, in their opinion at least, that this was an organised, Maduro organised this. It was a deal struck, and that he did indeed leave, not necessarily voluntarily, but he did know he was going, and he left with his wife. Now, I would temper that by saying that President Trump said that this was a military operation, and that the nominal president, Maduro, was captured, is the wording that he's used. So we'll be interested to see whether there was indeed a deal, because that had been rumoured and circulating in Caracas for most of the time that I was there, that Maduro was talking to Trump. We know that did take place. President Trump confirmed it, and that Maduro wanted to leave with others of his close supporters, plus a lot of money, and that he was told no, it's him and his wife, and they will be guaranteed safety. So that was the rumour that was running around at the time while I was there. We don't know. As I say, the opposition are convinced that it was a deal. The president has said, however, that he was captured. But either way, it appears that Nicolas Maduro is gone. The administration in Venezuela says they don't know where Maduro or his wife are. Obviously, the United States say that they have them both. So what happens next? Will the people take to the streets? Will the administration, as it stands now, accept that time is up? Or will they continue to defy the United States and to say, just because you've taken away our president, as in Nicolas Maduro, we are still in charge? If people do take to the streets, and they are taking that position, it could be very, very dangerous for any type of groupings of people, because we know there's been a crackdown for over a year now. It's gone on for years, actually, but it's been a very strong crackdown on opposition throughout the country for the last year, and that would likely be potentially very, very dangerous. They have shot demonstrators before and killed them in the street, so that could easily happen. Or will the Secret Service there perhaps say, no, he's gone, and there's now going to be a transition? The opposition parties which is a coalition of parties, by the way, who don't really get on awfully well, but they've joined together to try to bring about the end of Maduro. They've been saying for ages now that they are in a position to take over power, and that they have a sort of underground network that is waiting for a smooth transition. The nominal president, by the way, now would be Edmundo Gonzalez, who's currently in Spain. He ran for election as president in the contested elections, which much of the international community accepted was rigged in the end. And so he would be the most obvious person to be the next president if the administration is announced. But we just don't know what is going to happen. We will need to hear what President Trump says, obviously, and then we'll have to see what the American military also, what position they take in the coming days, and then obviously what happens on the streets. But a remarkable turn of events in the last, few hours now.
Yep, Stuart, thank you very much indeed. Let's bring in our US correspondent, David Blevins, who is in Washington and early hours of the morning there. David, I'm just seeing that a US senator has told Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, Rubio has told the senator that Maduro will be arrested to stand trial on criminal charges in the United States. And he goes on to say that Rubio told him no further action now that Maduro is in US custody. So just an idea of the thinking that is taking place at a high level in the United States.
Here's that claim coming from Republican Senator Mike Lee, Mark, and it certainly does seem to be at odds with what we're hearing from opposition sources in Venezuela, that the exit of Maduro has been something negotiated with the Trump administration. We do know, as Stuart was explaining, that the Trump administration had offered him safe passage if he agreed to step down, but presumably he has not agreed to stand trial in the United States. The other thing I think that is a little at odds with the suggestion that this has been a negotiated exit is the military action that we've witnessed overnight, 7 explosions rocking Caracas and surrounding provinces. Now, Donald Trump is still in Mar-a-Lago, his residence in Florida. He has not returned to the Situation Room at the White House.
XL, Fortunes, where music meets